Welcome everyone. So glad that you are here. I'm glad to be here. And this is the KOG live math homework help. So today is a jam-packed night, and I already have a few people who have submitted questions for me to go over, and I'm excited to get started on that. And if you are watching, please share this out to your friends and family, because you never know who may need some help in math. And thanks, Star, for sharing. Awesome. Appreciate it. So, like I said, I have a few topics I'm going to discuss tonight. In the description, you'll see that a few of them are. So one of them is ratio tables. I'm going to do factoring polynomials, and I'm going to do system of equations. And that should be really fun. I'm excited. I hope that you are too. 13, 8, space 24. And then we had 52, nothing down there. And then we had 80. With ratio tables, what we want to do is get the ratio that's in the simplest form. So the ratio is x to y, like I was saying before, x to y, okay? So everything in the x, so we got 13 to 8, that's a ratio. Something to 24 is a ratio. We got to figure out what that something is. So looking at 13 to 8, that's actually the simplest form for the ratio. That is the ratio. It's 13 over 8, because you can't break 13 and over 8 down. They don't have any common factors because 13 is prime. So what we do is we look at the next field, so the next column, and we say, since 13 over 8 is the ratio, how do I get from 13 over 8 to something over 24, right? I have to find out what number I can multiply to 8 to and get 24. Well, that number is 3. 8 times 3 is 24. So that means that I have to multiply the numerator by 3 also, because that's going to make a proportion. When you have two fractions set equal to each other, that they're also called ratios. When you have them set equal to each other, that makes a proportion. And it also makes a string of equivalent fractions. So I remember when Miss Samia was talking about how her daughter couldn't figure out what the fraction was, what the next fraction should be, that rings a bell for me now that I had time to think about it. So 13 times 3 is 39. And that's what's going to go in up here. Yes. So this one is times 3 from 13. I'm not even going to write that, because it's going to look like I'm going from the previous column to the next column multiplying by 3, when the next column is not going to be specifically multiplied by 3. So let's do the next column. So we got 13 over 8. That's our, I'm going to just keep this color. 13 over 8 is our ratio, and we want to get to a fraction where the numerator is 52. Remember, this new fraction is equivalent to the current fraction, 13 over 8. And we got to figure out what the denominator is going to be. Well, the question we need to ask is, what times 13 is 52? 13 times 4 is 52. So if 13 times 4 is 52, we got to do 8 times 4 also. And 8 times 4 is 32. So that's what goes down here. Yay. Jada Don, what's up? I'm fixing some stuff. Thank you for hopping on. Thank you for whoever hopped on real quick. Not on here long, just fixing something. And then the last one is 13 over 8. The denominator is 80. So we need to look at our denominator of our ratio and say, how do we get from 8 to 80? Using multiplication. We multiply 8 by 10 to get to 80. So we have to multiply the numerator by 10 also, and that's going to give us 130. Let me hide this. Okay, we finished the ratio table accurately. All of these fractions after 13 over 8 are equivalent fractions to 13 over 8. And so the question, if you want us to know what the ratio was, that's what the question is on the assignment, is 13 over 8. Why? Because 13 have any common factors, and it's just in simplified form. And that's it. That's the reason why. And they represent simplified versions of the rest of the fractions in the ratio table. Let's do another one. Hopefully Miss Samia is watching. If not, she might be asleep. I'm sure her daughter is asleep as well. But you guys can watch it later. Clear. Let me save this. Okay. Another one. So we got that line is just not straight enough for me. So we got 1, 3 here, 5 here, and 21 here. Just want to stress again that it's not going in order. The one that we did before did go in order, but meaning number 2 on the last video, the first one we did, that did go in order, but not all of them are going to go in order, as we can see. So we have to find the ratio for the table and then use that ratio to find the rest of the blank spaces, or the rest of the ratios, or the equivalent fractions to the ratio. So the ratio of this table is 1 over 3, or 1 to 3. And we know this because 1 and 3 is a fraction that is simplified to the simplest form, and they are both prime. They don't have any factors in common. So let's use this as our base to find out what the other equivalent fractions are. Okay, so 1 over 3, oops, I want another color. 1 over 3, and our next fraction is going to have a 3 in the numerator. What's the denominator? So what do we do to get from 1 to 3 using multiplication? We multiply by 3. 1 times 3 is 3, so we got to do the same to the bottom in order to have an equivalent fraction. 3 times 3, that's 9. So that's what goes right here. Let's do another one. Using 1 over 3 again. Our numerator is 5 now. So what do we do to get from 1 to 5? Multiply by 5. Since that's what we did for the numerator, we got to do that for the denominator. 3 times 5 is 15. Yay! One more. We got 1 over 3. Our denominator is 21 already. Looking at 21. What did we do to get from 3? What did we multiply to 3 to get to 21? 7. 3 times 7 is 21. Do the same to the top, and we got an equivalent fraction. So much easier now that we know the steps. I want to do more. Let's do her other page. Now, I didn't do these, so I'm going to save this. Okay, so we got x over y. 4, 5 down here, 16. There's a blank underneath that. There's a blank up top, and then we have 30 down bottom, and then 32 up top. Okay. All right, so looking at all of the columns, which is our ratio for this table? It's going to be 4 over 5 because 4 and 5 don't have any common factors, meaning we can't simplify or find the factors of 4 and 5. So we got 2 times 2, we got 1 times 4, and then 5, we got only 1 times 5. And the only common factor that they have is 1, which is everything has 1 in common. So nothing more than that. Therefore, this is our simplified fraction, which is our ratio for the table. Okay, so since this is the ratio, we want to start filling in our blanks, which would be our equivalent fractions. So for the next column, we have 16 for our x on the top row. So we want to figure out how we got from 4 to 16 so that we can find the denominator. 4 times what is 16? 4 times 4, 16. So we got to do 4 times 5. 5 times 4, same thing, is 20. So 20 goes here. Okay, using 4 over 5 again. The denominator is 30 now. We're looking at this one. So we need to find the numerator. How do we get from 5 to 30? You multiply by 6. 5 times 6 is 30. So you times 6 again up top. 4 times 6 is 24. And that's what goes up there. 4 over 5, again, we got 32 in the numerator. 4 times what is 32? 4 times 8. So 5 times 8 will be 40. And that's what goes in the denominator, which will be the bottom row. And all these new fractions are equivalent fractions to 4 over 5. Because as you see, we have equal signs in between them. One more and then that's enough. Okay, I'll do it on the same page. Write this table. Let's do this one. 8, 28. We got 7 bottom, 21 in the bottom, and 20 up top. Okay. So looking at our numbers that are filled in, we only have the first column that has the top and bottom filled in. However, 8 and 28 are not simplified. Does not make a simplified fraction. So therefore, we have to take that, since they're ratios to each other, we have to take 8 over 28 by it, meaning find what the greatest common factors are of them. So we can start with 8. We got 1 times 8, 2 times 4, and that's it. With 28, we got 1 times 28, 2 times 14, 3, no, 5, no, 6, no, but, oh, 4, yes, sorry, 4 times 7. I was going to do 7 times 4, but it's 4 times 7 also, same thing. Okay, what's the greatest common factor? I see 4 as the greatest common factor. So I can take the numerator and denominator and divide both of them by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 28 divided by 4 is 7. 7. Now, this fraction, 2 over 7, cannot be simplified anymore. This is in the simplest form. And this is our table, our ratio table. I mean, the ratio of our table. Okay, so we're going to use this now to fill in our blanks. Starting over here, 2 over 7. So how about this? Our next one is actually the ratio of our table. So 7, how we get from 7 to 7? Well, we multiply by 1, right? If we multiply by 1, we got to multiply the top by 1. And what's that? 2. Let me get a different color. Thanks for the hearts, y'all. This is a redo, so I appreciate the love because I got it wrong originally. Hey, Leon. Hey, Mish, Deity, Paulette, Queenin, Love. Thank you guys for joining in. Okay, so the next one we found out was our ratio. Let's find some more. 2 over 7. We got 21 in the denominator. How do we get from 7 to 21? Well, multiply by 3. 7 times 3 is 21. Do the top 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So that's what goes up top. And then last one, 2 over 7. 20 is in the numerator. As our equivalent fraction, we got to figure out what the denominator is going to be using our method. What times 2 is 20? Well, that's 10. So we got to multiply 7 by 10, the denominator, to get our new denominator. 7 times 10 is 70. And that's what goes down here. This is for Katie. Hey, Katie. And we're going to factor polynomials using the AC method, which is also called factor by grouping. AC method. Factor by grouping. Okay, so here's a polynomial in standard form. It is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. All right. The a, sometimes you don't see a number there. So that sometimes if you don't see a number, that means the a is 1. So let's do a problem where the a is 1. And we got x squared plus 3x equals 18. All right, so the question would be, is this in standard form? Well, actually, no, it's not, because standard form means that our equation is supposed to be equal to 0, but it's equal to 18. So what we can do is subtract 18 on both sides, and we're going to end up with x squared plus 3x minus 18 equals 0. There you go. So now it's in standard form. You're welcome, Miss Samia. Thank you for being patient with me. Okay, so standard form it is. What we're going to do now is identify our A, B, and C. So like I said before, if you don't see a number in front of x squared, which will be right here, that means it's 1. Okay? That's something called invisible math. If you want me to do, if anybody wants me to do like a workshop or a live session on invisible math, comment invisible in the comment section, because invisible math is something that we all need to know about, which will help you do better in algebra, because it's like it's not there, but it's there, and you got to know that it's there, and it just confuses everybody. So this is an example of invisible math. Like, it's not there, but it's there. It's the 1. Usually it's a 1. All right, anyway. So A is equal to 1. B is equal to 3. And then C is equal to negative 18. Okay? Boom. Now, what we're going to do now is multiply A and C. So A times C is, let me write it up here. A times C equals 1 times negative 18, because that's what A and C are. And then that equals negative 18. Cool. All right, so we want to now find the factors of negative 18 that will add up to B, which is negative 3. B, we want to find factors of negative 18 that add up to B, or 3. So we can do like we did before, greatest common factor, or just factoring things out. 1 times negative 18. Now remember, when we're multiplying or finding factors of a negative number, only one of them is negative, because if both of them was negative, that would follow the rule negative times negative is positive, and that would mean that this is supposed to be positive, but it's not. It's negative. So 1 times negative 18, and then we got negative 1 times 18, positive 18. So the next would be 2 times negative 9, and then negative 2 times 9, 3 times negative 6, and negative 3 times 6. We need all of this. All of these factors, we need to see them. Okay? We're done with our factors. And looking at our B is 3, positive 3. Which one of these will work if we added them together? So 1 plus negative 18 is actually 1 minus 18, which is negative 17. That won't work. I'm going to tell you the answer because we're running out of time. So it's going to be negative 3 plus 6. Remember, we're adding the numbers together. Negative 3 plus 6 can also be written as 6 minus 3. Remember, we got to keep the signs for each number, which is flipping the position of the number. 6 minus 3 is 3. Positive 3, that's the one. Okay, now we have to rewrite the middle term using these two numbers. I'm going to show you how to do it. Let me get another color. Stuff is running together. Blue, that teal. Okay, so we have x squared plus 3x minus 18. All right, we're going to rewrite the middle using negative 3 and 6. This is the AC method, or the factor by grouping. So we're going to do negative 3x now plus 6x minus 18 equals 0. Just want to point out that this middle right here is the same thing, like you're doing the same thing as writing 3, because we just saw over here that 6 minus 3, or negative 3 plus 6, is 3. So you're not changing anything. All you're doing is changing what it looks like. It's the same thing as writing 3x. Okay, now we're going to do the grouping part. So we look at the first two, group them together. Look at the last two, group them together. We want to factor out what they have in common. Thank you, Miss Maria, for joining. Don't forget to share, guys. And I see people sharing, and I appreciate it. Give me hearts if you like this. I love doing this. I love helping people. It's awesome. I love doing math. Okay, so we're factoring out x. So I said we're factoring out x. I didn't mean to say that so fast. I wanted to lead up to it, but that's what we're doing. We're factoring out x. Hey, Ashia. And we're doing that because x squared and 3x have an x in common. Only one, though, because 3x only has one x. So if we factoring out x means that we're dividing by x. X squared divided by x, that leaves us with an x. X squared divided by x is x. And then 3x divided by x, these cancel out. You just got 3 left. And then your answer in the inside is x minus 3 with the x on the outside. Now, just want to note that if you factor distributed, use the distributive property, this x back into each of these, you would get this answer again. You would get that binomial. So it's the same thing. Nothing has changed except it's written differently, but the value is the same. Okay, let's look at this second one, the second group. Thanks for the wave, Ashia. We have 6x minus 18. What factors do 6x and 18 have in common? 6. So, and a positive 6 at that. So we're going to factor out 6. Then we're going to do 6x divided by 6 minus 18 divided by 6 equals 0. 6x divided by 6, we cancel that out. We're left with just x. And then 18 divided by 6 is 3 equals 0. Voila. Okay, not done yet. Almost. Our goal was to get the same thing inside these parentheses, and we did. Awesome. So what we're going to do now is rearrange this. We're going to rearrange this so that it looks like what you're used to the answer looking like, Katie. So we're going to write x minus 3 in one group of parentheses. And then we're going to write the outside, x plus 6, in the other group of parentheses. And that's the answer. That is the answer. Okay, that's the answer. X minus 3 times x plus 6. Any questions? Thank y'all for coming in. I appreciate it. I really, really do. Thank you so much. Let's do another one. We have time. Ooh, you did that fast. We're going to do one that's a little bit more difficult. And let me save this because you might want it. Just saving. This is Katie's. Factoring. Boom. Now I can erase. All right, we're going to do one that's a little bit more difficult. Then we're going to move on to systems of equations for Letitia. And we're going to do 2 of those, and then if I have more time after that, I may come back to some more, or I can answer a question if anybody else has one that popped in. Okay, so we're factoring by grouping again, which is the same as the AC method. Same thing if you ever see them. Let's use a different color this time. So let's do 2x squared minus 3x minus 35 equals 0. Okay, so I'm using this method, by the way, Katie, and anybody else who is interested in this type of factoring polynomials. I'm using this method, factor by grouping, or the AC method, because that's the only method that's going to get you the right answer straight up. Like, I know in school, and I learned it this way too. Your teacher may say, oh, just think of a number that adds up to the middle, that multiplies, adds up to the middle. That can get a little bit difficult. Like, you can do sometimes you have to do it a bunch of times before you get the answer. Now I'm telling you that this way you get the answer exactly correct if you do your numbers right and everything every time. Now, usually if you don't get it correct, it's because if you can't not get it correct. You'll just get stuck and it won't factor, it won't simplify. But you won't usually get an answer if you do it wrong. So step one, step one, identify A, B, and C. A is 2, B is -3, C is -35. Remember, we're going by the standard form. A is always in front of x squared, B is always in front of x, and C is always the constant, or the number that doesn't have a variable, which is -35. So we're going to do AC, A times C. I'm going to do that down here. A times C is 2 times -35, which is -70. It's always an issue with the space. -70. Okay, so factors. Factors of -70. Remember, this is a negative number, so we have to find the negative and the positive. We got 1 times -70, and then we got -1 times +70. 2 times -35, and then -2 times +35. And these are numbers that you're going to have to find. I know these numbers because I did it already. But the way you can figure out what the factors are is just like put 70 in your calculator and just keep divided by 1. You know it's going to be 70. Divided by 2, 35. 70 divided by 3, not going to work. You're going to get a decimal. If you get a decimal when you divide, then that's not a factor. Let's go on to the next one. 70 divided by 4, you get a decimal. 70 divided by 5, you get 14. So this is going to be 5 times -14 and -5 times +14. Okay, and then one more. 6 doesn't work. 6 gives you a decimal. One more is 7 times -10, and then -7 times +10. All right, so those are all our factors of -70, and we want to find the pair that we can add up to get -3, which is B. I'm gonna tell you the answer. Is this one right here. -7 plus 10 is the same as 10 minus 7. Remember, the 7 stays negative. All you're doing is moving it to the other side. And 10 stays positive. 10 minus 7 is 3. Ooh, no, it's not. That's not the one. We wanted -3. So actually, we're going to have to go with this one. Womp womp. Teachers make mistakes too. All right, so 7 minus 10 is -3. There you go. Okay. So that's an example of a mistake you can make when doing factor by grouping. So remember, we're going to rewrite B, or that middle term, with 7x and -10x. Let's do it. 2x plus 7x, because 7 is positive, minus 10x minus 35 equals 0. Remember, this 7x minus 10x is -3x. The same thing. They're the same thing. So you didn't change anything as far as the value. Let's group them together. And so I just had to check something. I went on another screen, so I'm going back to, hey David, Alvin. Okay, so we are factoring out what's in common. So 2x plus 7x, what do they have in common? This is supposed to be x squared. 2x squared plus 7x, they have x in common. So we're factoring that out. They don't have any numbers or coefficients in common. The coefficients are the numbers in front of the variable. They don't have any factors in common as far as coefficients, so we're going to keep them the same. And the reason is because they're both prime. So 2x squared minus x plus 7x, divided by x. 2x squared divided by x plus 7x divided by x. We got x out here. X squared divided by x, that cancels out with that 1x. And we're just left with 2x. And then 7x divided by x, these cancel out. And we just have 7. Because x divided by x is 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. And for, if you want to, just a quick explanation of why we have 1 x left over after we divide 2x squared by x, real quick. Here's a rule, a new color. Here's a rule. And I just went over this with one of my homeschool students. X squared, x to the m over x to the n equals x to the m minus n, right? So, excuse me, for 2x squared over x, we got 2. We can write this 2 here, and we can just write the fraction with the variables. X squared over x. And here's another example of invisible math. X has an exponent of 1. Okay, so now it matches what the rule says, n minus n. Now we can do 2 equals 2x to the 2 minus 1. And when we simplify this, 2 minus 1 is 1, right? So we have 2 times x to the 1. 2 times x to the 1 is 2x. Real quick, I just wanted to let you know that that's why I just can't just crossed out and stuff like that. Another example of invisible math. Try to trick you. Okay. So this is a challenge problem. And in the next group, we have negative 10x minus 35. Let me hurry up because I gotta do system of equations. We got negative 10x minus 5. And so the goal is to get the same thing in our new parentheses that we already have in our parentheses, 2x plus 7. That's the goal. But we have negatives and stuff. So the negative between 10x and 35, we don't want that. We want that to be a positive. I'm going to just put positive because that's what we want. That's the goal. All right. So what we can do is factor out a negative number. So I'm going to write a minus sign here. And what do negative 10x and negative 35 have in common? Well, we know they have a negative number in common. Let's see. They got 5 in common. They have negative 5 in common, okay? Negative 5. And they don't have any variables in common because 35 doesn't have a variable. So negative 10x divided by 5 is 2x, isn't it? Let me write it just like I did over here. Negative 10x divided by negative 5, and then negative 35 divided by negative 5 because we're factoring out the same number. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is positive 2x. And then negative 5 divided by, negative 35 divided by 5, rewind, negative 35 divided by negative 5 is positive 7. Yes, it is. Remember, equals 0 on that side. Positive 7. So I'm just going to write this negative 5 here because that's where it goes. Yay, we completed the goal. The goal was to get two binomials in the parentheses that were the same thing. Okay, let me erase this. And we're going to finish off by rearranging. So what's in the inside for both of the groupings, we're going to put that in just one. And then the other grouping is going to be x minus 5, which is on the outside. X minus x and negative 5. So, whew, yes, we did it. We did it. That took more work than the last time, but it's okay. Yay. All right. If you have any questions, please leave them below and I can answer them for you. But I'm going to go on to system of equations. If you can hear my paper, then you know I got notes. All right. Let me save this. This is Katie factoring 2. Okay. I'm just going to clear the screen because you already know that this what I'm doing, and I have to have the description up there. I think I'm gonna go over time, and that's okay. I don't mind it. So, system of equations. I did this a couple weeks ago, and I'm doing it again. So you're getting another review. Awesome sauce. System of equations. You got two methods that really stand out. So you got the substitution method. And the multiplication method. That's a long word too. So I'm gonna just put multiplication method. Cool. Okay. So now let's look at an example. So a system of equations is basically, this is what it is, real quick. System of equations means that you got two lines that cross at a certain point, right? And you're trying to figure out what that point is. Boom. Two equations. So the equations are linear equations. They're equations of two lines. Sometimes you have different scenarios where you may have two parallel lines and they don't cross. Parallel lines don't cross. Sometimes you may have perpendicular lines. They cross at one point. Or coincidental lines. So lines that coincide. So I'm going to have this line and this line. They're the same exact line. So they have all real numbers. Like all their solutions are the same. And so you may have an answer like 5 equals 5, right? And here you will have an answer like 2 equals 0. Now, does 2 equal 0? No. That's how when you get an answer like this, you can say automatically, okay, these lines are parallel. And with an equation like this one up top, a system of equations like this one up top, you'll have one solution will be x equals 3. Sorry, it's not going to be x equals 3. It's going to be a point. It's going to be 2, 5, something like that. Okay? All right. So I like to use different colors. I don't like using the same colors. Okay, so let's do an example. 2x minus 3y equals negative 4. And 2x plus y equals 4. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so what we want to do is cancel out one of the variables. We want a variable to be gone, disappear. By variable, which one? Which one would you choose? So I see that there are two ways we can go about this. Two variables that we can cancel out. We can either cancel out x first, or we can either cancel out y first. We can cancel out x first by multiplying both multiplying one of the equations by a -1. That's using the multiplication method. Multiply by -1, equation 2. We can also multiply the bottom equation by +3. Multiply by +3 to equation 2. Sorry. And that is going to cancel out the y because we're adding the equations, by the way. -3 plus 3 is 0. And then if we have the -2, it'd be 2 minus 2, 2x minus 2x, which is 0, and just have y left. And then here's one substitution method you can use, which is by solving for y for the second equation. 3 ways you can go about it. Cool. Okay. The way I did it was I multiplied the second equation by -1, and that was because I don't know. I guess I thought that was the easiest way. So let's do it. Multiply the bottom by -1. The second problem I didn't distribute all the way out, and I got into a little conundrum. I messed up. So let's make sure we distribute this -1 all the way through to each of the terms. So new color. So we're going to have 2x minus 3y equals -4. And then we're distributing the -1. So -1 times 2x is -2x. -1 times +y is now -y. And then -1 times +4 is now -4. Cool. We're adding. Okay, so we're adding these two equations. 2x plus -2x gives you 0. -3 plus -y gives you -4y. And then -4 plus -4 gives you -8. All right? Okay. We want to divide by -4 so that we can isolate the y. -8 divided by -4 is +2. We got half of our answer. We want the other half. Now, remember, our answer is going to be in the XY format, which is a point, like I said, where the two lines cross. So we got the Y value. We need to get the X value now. So what we're going to do is take the Y value and plug it into the first equation. So 2x minus 3, not y, we're going to put 2 in because y is equal to 2, equals -4. All right, so 2x simplified 3 times 2 is 6, equals -4. We want to add 6 on both sides. -6 plus 6 is 0, and then -4 plus 6 equals 2. Divide by 2 so we can isolate the x. 2 divided by 2 is 1. X is 1. We can put that right there, and our point that the two lines intersect is at 1, 2. That actually looks like our point up there too. Like the position that it is on the coordinate plane. Looks like that's 1, 2. All right, one more. Uno más. Okay. Questions, please leave below. I appreciate the questions, feedback, anything you got. Miss Me gave me 3 hearts. Yay. Okay. Last one. Thanks, Ashia, for sticking around. I see you, girl. Okay. Erase, 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 erase. I didn't want to erase everything. So I had to use this method. Okay. Let's use magenta. So here's a challenge one. 15x plus 4y equals 7. And 6x plus 14y. You learning? Okay. Cool. I'm glad. Hopefully it's helpful. Ashia. Okay. So unlike the previous set of equations, um when we look at our coefficients, none of them are factors of each other. So what we're going to have to do is just find the least common multiple. We're going to have to make these equations bigger, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So what I did was I just looked at 15 and 6. Oh, you learned it? Okay, good. I'm glad it's helpful. So I'm going to look at 15 and 6 and just look at that as the variable I want to cancel out. I want to cancel out x. So I'm going to find multiples of 15 and 6 that, and then find the greatest common multiple. Okay, all right, cool. 15. So we got 15. Then we have, so that's 15 times 1. And 15 times 2 is 30. 15 times 3 is 45. I'm going to do one more. 15 times 4 is 60. All right, cool. 6, we got 6 times 1 is 6, times 2 is 12, times 3 is 18, times 4 is 24, times 5 is 30. And we can stop right there. Why? Because I see common multiples. 30. 30 is the least common multiple. All right, so that's the number we're going to use for the new, I'm going to stop right there. That's the number we're going to focus on. What we're going to do now is figure out how we get from 15 to 30, because we're going to change these equations. Let me change this back. What did we multiply to 15 to get to 30? Well, we multiplied 2 to get 15. So let's multiply this whole equation by 2. That's going to help us to cancel out our x. And then for the bottom equation, what did we multiply to 6? Because that's the number we're focusing on. What did we multiply to 6 to get 30? Well, 5. Okay. Hey, Miss Lucera Marta. Marta. Hey, Marta. How are you? I remember Martha, she was at Foundation when I was teaching there. So we got to multiply by 5. But we can't just multiply by 5. We have to multiply by -5 because remember, we want to cancel out our x. So one of them has to be positive 30 and the other one has to be negative 30. So let's simplify. Remember, we got to distribute to each one. Don't forget, because I forgot when I was working on this by myself. So 2 times 15 is 30x. 2 times 4y is 8y. And then 2 times 7 is 14. Now we got the bottom equation. Negative 5 times 6x is negative 30x. Negative 5 times positive 14, y is negative 70y. And then negative 5 times 9 is negative 45. Cool, yay, we did it successfully. We want to add these two equations. What's going to happen? This 30x is going to cancel out. Awesome sauce, that's what we wanted. Now we need to add the other two sets of terms. So 8 minus 70 is negative 62y. And then 14 minus 45 is negative 31. We want y by itself. So we divide by 62 on both sides. Okay? Negative 62 divided by 62 is 1. And 1 times y is y. And then negative 31 is actually half of negative 62. So this answer is going to be 1/2 because negative divided by negative is positive, and so our answer is going to be positive. I just want to do a little bit more by showing you how 31 is half of 62. So if we divide 31 by 31 and 62 by 31, 31 is a prime number, by the way. The more you work with numbers, the more it'll be easier to identify the numbers that are prime and the numbers that are not. And the non-prime is a composite. 62 divided by 31 is 2. All right. Okay, so y is 1/2. And I'm going to take this y and plug it back into plug it back into this equation. Not one of these. We can, but it's just going to be a lot more work. Plug it back into the original equation. So 15x plus 4y. Our y, remember, is 1/2. So actually it's going to be now 1/2 equals 7. 4 times 1/2 is the same as 4 divided by 2, which is 2. So 4 times 1/2 is 2 equals 7. And minus 2 on both sides, we want to isolate the x. That's why I'm doing this. 2 minus 2 is 0. 7 minus 2 is 5. 15x. Divided by 15. Divide by 15. X drops out, and then 5 divided by 15. Greatest common factors, 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So the answer is 1/3 for our x value. And there you have it. 1/3, 1/2. Try plotting that on a graph. And that rhymed. How funny is that? Okay, yay! We did a lot of stuff tonight. Thank y'all for your questions and for your input and your love and for sharing. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Remember, I said that math is fun to me. I love math. Even when it's a challenge, like that first section doing the ratio tables. I'm still going back to that so I can answer for Miss Samia and her daughter, Kaya. Yeah, so thank you. Thanks, Ashia, for watching the whole time. Look at you, you're still here. I appreciate you. And I hope that you learned something. Do you need this for like a test that you're taking or something in particular, or you just wanted to watch? Let me know. I'm curious about that. All right, I'm gonna go and probably work until it's very late. Stay safe on those roads out there. My mom got in an accident. Stay home if you need to. And drive carefully if you need to go out. All right, guys? Don't want anybody else getting hurt. Love you guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Also, got some links in the description of this video. There is a free course that I am offering. I share. You may want to take that course if you want to learn a little bit more. I have videos there too. It's called The Top 7 Concepts You Must Master to Pass Algebra. And there's videos, there's a text version of the video, and there's quizzes that you can take. So they're really easy, like finding greatest common factor, least common multiple, fractions, and stuff like that. You'll see it in the description. Also, I have if you actually need a little bit more in-depth understanding of a concept, I have a service called Ask Me, and I'll answer. You submit a question or a specific concept, like say, I want to know how to solve um, system of equations. Can you help me? So you can submit that, and I'll go over all the methods that there are to solve system of equations. Okay, so you need it, take advantage of it. You don't want to get too far in the semester and need help, and it's too late to get all that knowledge that you were supposed to get back in August. All right, have a good night. Bye.